Hello everyone, this is Ray with AltitudeAlert. I'm going to show you some of the features today, specifically the decision altitude, minimum descent altitude features. Okay, let's open the app. Once the app is open, we'll go ahead and set our altitude to get started. We'll pretend that air traffic control has cleared us to 3,000 feet. Setup for altitude alerts is pretty straightforward. After you've set the initial altitude, just reach down and then set the altimeter setting and then field elevation. So we'll do that now. We're at the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport, or CVG, and the altimeter setting is 299.6, and the field elevation here is just over 800 feet. You may be wondering how I got that keypad to come up. That's the altimeter setting touch zone. Just touch right where the numbers are for the altimeter setting and it brings up that keypad. And then all you have to do is enter in the altimeter setting and then you're done. Okay, now that we've got our takeoff field elevation set and our altimeter setting set, we'll take it into the air and pick it up approaching our altitude of 3,000 feet. Okay, the altitude alert that was just generated was based on the alert margin, which is 600 feet, and that's in reference to the altitude set in the altitude selector, which in this case is 3,000 feet. The altitude selector light will remain illuminated until it gets within 25% of the alert margin, and then it will go out. At that point, the check altitude alert margin comes into play and begins monitoring the altitude selector against the reference altitude. If it ever exceeds the check altitude alert margin, then a check altitude alert will be issued at that point.
Altitude acquired.
Now that we've reached 3,000 feet, it's time to start setting up for the approach. At India 67 for the RNAV 19, it's an LNAV MDA of 1,380 feet. So let's go ahead and enter that in by touching the DA-MDA button. Next, enter the landing field elevation, which at India 67 is 584 feet, so we'll round up to 600. Okay, we're ready to go. All we have to do now is arm the alerts for the approach. It's generally a good idea to wait to arm the approach for alerting until air traffic control has cleared you for the approach. The main reason for this is because in the approach mode, altitude alert limits all normal altitude alerts to descending only and altogether inhibits the check altitude alerts. This is so you don't end up with multiple alerts being generated at a critical phase of flight. Okay, so let's fly the approach. So air traffic control has just issued us a descent to 2,500 feet and then subsequently has cleared us for the approach. So let's dial in 2,500 feet and then arm the approach.
Altitude acquired.
As I stated earlier, in the approach mode, altitude alert inhibits a lot of the normal alerts, but it does leave some of them. The most key one being the normal altitude alert and the altitude acquired alert. This is so that if you have an intermediate level off, you are then alerted for that level off and then that acquisition of that altitude. In this demonstration, we're just going to continue through that altitude and continue the approach.
1,000 feet above touchdown.
Okay, the height above touchdown alerts are derived from the field elevation that you set prior to the approach. That's the reason it's important to make sure they're accurate before beginning the approach.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. "500 feet above touchdown, check landing gear down."
In this case, you can see that the 500-foot above touchdown zone call came after the minimums call because the minimums on the approach were higher than that 500-foot call out. This is going to happen in those cases. Of course, when you're doing a precision approach like an ILS or a LPV RNAV approach, the minimums will happen after the 500-foot call out. In the case where the 500-foot call out and the minimums are within 100 feet of each other, then the approaching minimums call out includes the call out to check landing gear down if you have that option selected. That's it for now. If you happen to have any questions, please visit AltitudeAlertApp.com or our Facebook page on Facebook /AltitudeAlert. In the meantime, fly safe, everyone.